Hello and welcome to this episode of I Don't Know Jack About Parenting, where today I'm going to be talking about how sorry just isn't enough.
So the big question is this: how are parents like us, who don't have a manual, who are doing the best we can, who feel as though we aren't enough, how are we going to raise healthy, happy children who we are proud of and still keep our sanity in that process? That's the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. My name is Ryan Roy, and welcome to I Don't Know Jack About Parenting, a podcast for parents who are being real with themselves.
Hello and welcome back to this episode of I Don't Know Jack About Parenting, where today I'm going to be talking about how sorry just isn't enough. So parents, look, I don't know jack about parenting, but have you ever had somebody do something to you that was very simple and they're like, oh, I'm sorry, and you're like, it doesn't matter. But there's also that time where somebody did something to you and sorry just wasn't enough. Well, I know you've had that experience. I know I've had that experience. And just recently, I had somebody in my life do something to me that I am dealing with the ramifications of their actions for multiple months now. And this person has literally acted as if nothing has happened, although not only myself, but a number of people have had this challenge with this scenario. And I don't want to go into details of that. But I finally said something to this person around the scenario, and I said, listen, it's an already difficult situation, and as we ask for your assistance in this problem that you've created, that was your project, and we're trying to fix it, you keep giving us roadblocks or reasons why either you can't help or that what we're proposing can't be done, but you're not offering solutions. In addition to that, the frustration around that builds on the fact that you've never said you're sorry for creating the mess, and you've never thanked the people who have really stepped up over the last 2 months to make this a success. So you haven't acknowledged us, and either way, you haven't thanked us and you haven't acknowledged the fact that you even made a mistake. And then as we continue to include you, because it's your project, you tell us every reason we can't go forward with certain things. So what I asked this person in an email, I said, so what I need from you, and I need clarity. If you're going to help, and I put, just say, yes, you want to help, and this is how you can help. Literally, if there's no help, if you can't help in that way, we don't need your help, because that's the only help we need. If your answer is no, we're okay with that. I'm absolutely 100% okay with you not moving forward. We just need to know so that we can move forward so that this can get done. And this person had a challenge with the way I addressed it. And her response was, I actually apologized, and I'm sorry that the person that I apologized to didn't forward the message to the rest of the team. And don't ask me to respond yes or no. I'm not your child. This is funny, right? Coming from the parenting guy. Don't just tell me to answer yes or no. I'm not your child. And I expect to be spoken to with respect, something to that nature. And I thought to myself, you haven't apologized. She actually apologized for the person who didn't relay her apology. And I said, you're right, I'm not your parent. And this is where this all comes from, because my response, and I actually didn't respond this, but I wrote it out, right? Because I need to get things out. Sometimes when I empower all of you to journal when you're in a frustrated position. Because when you journal, you get it out of your system. It comes out of your mind and out of your system and onto something else. And that message doesn't need to be delivered, but it needs to get out of you because you need to get that stuff out. So I actually wrote, and what my response would be is you're right, I'm not your parent. Because she told me I'm not her kid. She's not my kid. And because of that, I need to speak to her a certain way. So I responded like, hey, you're right, you're not my kid. And I don't speak to my kids that way because I don't need to. Because my kids know how to own up to their challenges or their mistakes, and they do it with an apology. And I'm not going to tell you how to do that because you're a grown adult, but I'm going to share with you because you question how I parent. I'm going to share with you how I teach my kids to apologize. And it goes something like this. Number one, they have to acknowledge in person, eye to eye, face to face with the person with whom they've inconvenienced or hurt. They have to state what they did wrong so that I know that they understand what they did wrong. So parents out there, look, I don't know jack about parenting, but I do know something about a genuine apology versus an I'm sorry. So there's a step and a process to this, and I wrote it out, and I was like, wow, this is going to be a great podcast episode. Number one, eye to eye, face to face if you messed up, if at all possible. But we don't delay it because we can't get in front of them. So, but eye to eye, face to face. They have to acknowledge what they did wrong. You, if you made a mistake, acknowledge to the person, I hurt you by doing this. That's my action. Then, after you do that, and because I did that action, this is how I believe it affected you in a negative way. Most people are probably thinking afterwards you say the words, I'm sorry. No, that's improper. Just because you're willing to say you're sorry doesn't mean that somebody's willing to receive that apology. Right? People say I'm sorry and they think it's okay. It's not okay at that point. Just because you've acknowledged what you've done wrong, just because you've acknowledged what they've done, what you need to do is say, and if you find it in your heart of hearts, or when you find it in your heart of hearts, I would hope, or I'm asking for your forgiveness. Do you forgive me? At that point, you put it in the hands of the person who is deciding whether or not they're ready to receive your apology. They're ready to acknowledge it. They get to determine whether or not they feel as though you're genuine or you're being disingenuous, right? You're just doing it as a formality. But if you do it in that way and you give them choice, I guarantee you, all circumstances, probably 95% of the time, the person is going to say, thank you for acknowledging. Thank you for admitting to what you did wrong. Thank you for acknowledging how I may feel about it. And because you did it in such a way, man to man, face to face, eye to eye, whatever it looks like for the gender there, I think I have it in my heart to forgive you for that action. What does that do to a child? Nobody, you, me, adults, and this is part of the challenge, she's probably never had to apologize for anything in her life. So she won't look me in the eye. She hasn't called me. She actually asked somebody else or apologized to somebody else on the team and said, and I know what happened. If you want to relay that to the rest of the team, you can. That's not an apology. I never heard anything from her. It's disingenuous. It's not believable. I don't want to teach my kids to do that. I want them to own up to their faults and learn from them. And when you have to look someone in the eye after you did something wrong, it can be difficult to do. But it's the right thing to do. It may feel a little humiliating. It may feel really uncomfortable. But at the end of the day, when somebody responds to your genuineness with love, you understand that mistakes are made. However, they can be forgiven, but you have to ask for forgiveness. And you must own up to your mistakes. So sorry, or I'm sorry, really isn't enough in an apology. Don't ask your kids to go say, hey, you did something wrong, just go say you're sorry. Because nobody cares. If you did something that really hurt me, and you just say, I'm sorry, I don't believe you. But if we go through that process of looking me in the eye, saying, this is what I did, it probably hurt you this way, and if you have it in your heart of hearts, I'm asking for your forgiveness, then they get a choice whether or not in that moment they want to forgive you in that moment. And here's the other thing. Nobody should expect to be forgiven simply because you're ready to acknowledge your fault. You hope in their heart of hearts they could do it. You've done everything in your power at that point, and you accept their response, whatever it is, whether you like it or not, and allow them to have their process. And when they are ready to forgive, hopefully they are person enough to come back to you and say, I'm ready to forgive you in this moment. I'm sorry it took so long. Don't have an expectation around you doing something wrong to somebody and then putting it on them as if they need to forgive you in the moment. Life doesn't work that way. I'm sorry is not enough. I don't know jack about parenting. I do know something about people. I do know something about owning up to your stuff, having high accountability, respect, and integrity to oneself. And I'm sorry, in my world, is not enough. And I imagine if you dig deep enough in your world, you'll say, wow, I wish everybody would own up to their stuff in that fashion. But you can't control everybody. You can only control yourself, parents. So if you have remorse or regret, or you've hurt somebody, use that formula. Eye to eye, face to face. Acknowledge your wrongdoing. Tell them how you believe it affected them and ask for their forgiveness. And that will be enough.
Do you want to be the dad you wish you had? If so, go get my free book, Be the Dad You Wish You Had, at BeTheDadYouWishYouHad.com. Inside, you'll find my most effective 40 tips to quickly and easily transform yourself into the ideal dad. Go to BeTheDadYouWishYouHad.com now and get it while it's free.